There is a silence that precedes respect. Not the silence of a man who has nothing to say, the silence of a man who has decided he no longer needs to explain himself to people who were never going to understand him anyway. That silence is not arrogance. It is not coldness. It is the natural result of a man who has finally understood what he is worth and has stopped offering himself to rooms, relationships, and situations that were built to receive something lesser. Most men never find that silence. They spend their lives in the noise of seeking approval, seeking validation, seeking the confirmation from others that they are enough, that they belong, that the space they take up in the world is justified. And the tragedy is not that they seek it. The tragedy is that they do not realize the seeking itself is the thing that makes them unworthy of what they want. You cannot attract quality while broadcasting need. You cannot draw strength toward you while operating from a position of quiet desperation. The world reads what you transmit at a frequency far below words, and what most men transmit every day, in every room they enter, is this: I am not yet sure I deserve to be here. The Stoics understood this at a level that goes deeper than motivation or self-help. They did not speak about confidence as a performance. They spoke about it as a consequence, a natural result of having done the internal work, of having examined yourself honestly, faced what you found, and built something real from it. Epictetus, who owned nothing and was owned by others, carried more dignity in a single day than most free men manage in a lifetime. Not because he pretended to be above his circumstances, but because he had done the work that made his circumstances irrelevant to his sense of self. He knew what he was. He knew what he was not. And that knowledge, earned through honest daily examination, was worth more than any external position could provide. This is the part that modern culture gets backwards. It tells you that when good things happen to you, when success arrives, when people recognize you, when the relationship begins, when the status is achieved, then you will feel worthy. Then you will feel like enough. Then you will carry yourself like a man who deserves what life has to offer. But that sequence is wrong in a way that costs most men decades. Because what actually happens when you tie your worth to outcomes is that you become a hostage to them. Every good day feels like borrowed time. Every setback feels like confirmation of the fear you were already carrying. You do not attract quality from that place. You attract mirrors of your own uncertainty. People who need you as much as you need them, for all the wrong reasons, and the whole arrangement is built on the same unstable foundation that each of you is secretly terrified to examine. Marcus Aurelius wrote something that sounds simple and contains everything. He wrote that if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. What he was describing was not just an ethical code. He was describing the architecture of a man who has decided to be consistent with himself, regardless of what the room wants from him. And that consistency, that absolute refusal to perform a version of yourself that does not match the version you are building in private, is the exact thing that creates gravity. It is what makes certain men magnetic, not because they are trying to attract anything, but because they are so thoroughly occupied with being real that reality bends toward them. Think about the men in your life who carry that quality. The ones who do not need to announce their worth because it is visible in how they move. in what they say yes to and what they decline without apology, in the fact that they do not shrink in difficult rooms or expand in easy ones. Their size is consistent. Their presence is the same, whether they are with the most powerful person they know or the least. That consistency is not a social skill. It is a spiritual achievement. It is the result of a man who knows himself well enough that he no longer needs the room to tell him who he is. What they know, what they have built, is something that cannot be faked and cannot be rushed. It comes from a specific kind of daily practice that has nothing to do with affirmations and everything to do with alignment. The alignment between what you say you value and how you actually spend your hours. Between the man you present to the world and the man you are when no one is watching. The gap between those two things is the exact measure of your discomfort with yourself. Close the gap, and the discomfort closes with it. And when the discomfort closes, when the internal argument between who you are and who you know you should be finally settles, something in how you carry yourself changes in a way that other people register before you even open your mouth. Here is the practical truth beneath all of this. When you value yourself, you stop tolerating the things that contradict that value. Not dramatically, not with announcements or confrontations or burned bridges. You simply stop returning to the places and people and patterns that require you to be less than you are. You stop chasing what was never meant for you. You stop auditioning for rooms that were built for a smaller version of yourself. And in the space that opens up when you stop chasing, something different begins to arrive. Not everything you want, but everything that is actually compatible with who you are becoming. The right difficulty, the right people, the right resistance. It does not come because you wished for it. It comes because you finally stopped blocking it with your own diminishment. Seneca wrote that the greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, waiting for things to be better, for people to see you, for circumstances to confirm what you have not yet confirmed in yourself. The man who is waiting for the world to recognize his worth before he claims it will wait his entire life. The world does not recognize worth. It responds to it. It is drawn to the man who has already done the work, who has already made the decision, who no longer needs confirmation because he is the confirmation. That man does not walk into a room looking for what it can give him. He brings something into it, and the room responds accordingly. This is not about becoming cold or unreachable. It is not about performing indifference or manufacturing mystery. It is about the real and quiet and deeply unglamorous work of becoming someone who is genuinely at peace with himself. Someone who has faced his own reflection honestly enough and consistently enough that the reflection no longer frightens him. That peace, that settled, unperformable peace, is the most attractive thing a man can possess. Because everyone in the room, whether they can articulate it or not, is drawn to what they recognize as real. And a man at peace with his own worth is perhaps the rarest real thing in any room he enters. Value yourself not because it will attract better things, though it will. Value yourself because it is the only honest way to live, because the alternative is a life spent performing a version of yourself designed to manage other people's perceptions, and that performance is exhausting, and it is empty, and somewhere beneath it, the real version of you is waiting with more patience than you deserve. Stop making it wait.